Good morning everyone. We are almost ready to start. Good morning, Carla.
Morning.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So I think yes, I think we can start. There are still some people connecting, but since we don't have a lot of time, maybe we start. And please note that this session will be recorded. So thank you very much for joining us. If you can put your camera on, would be super nice. But I understand it's a very early hour, so even more happy to have you with us today. We are very happy to have you join us because today we are officially launching the 2026 call for applications for the InFiNe scholarship program. This will be the only call for applications this year. So I really hope you will make the most of this session, and I really encourage you to share this opportunity with your colleagues and within your organizations. So what is on the agenda this morning? First of all, I will give you a very brief, short overview of the scholarship program, how it works, and what is the application process. And then we will move on to what I think is the most valuable, exciting part of this session. We will hear from 4 colleagues, beneficiaries of the 2025 scholarship program. I see Christophe join us. Good morning, Christophe. Cécile, Joël, and Pedro, who will join us shortly. They will share with us their experiences and key takeaways from the trainings they have attended last year. So very exciting for that. And then we have set aside a few minutes at the end of the session for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can ask at the end of the webinar. So let's start. We can start with a quick overview. What is the InFiNe scholarship program? So at its core, the program is designed for professionals working in the inclusive and impact finance space. To support them by providing high quality executive trainings. It is dedicated to employees of InFiNe member organizations only, and it provides financial support of up to 4,000 euros that is covering tuition fees only, which are paid directly to the training provider. What I would like to mention already here is that beyond this financial support, what is really the core, let's say, the real mission of the scholarship program of InFiNe is to strengthen the expertise of our membership. So is the knowledge sharing across our network. So I would say that this program, our scholarship program, is of course an individual opportunity, but it's also a collective investment in the sector. So moving on to eligibility, who can apply? So applicants must be employed by an InFiNe member organization, as I said, both at the time of the application and also during the training itself. The scholarship is a one-time opportunity, so it's open to people, colleagues that have not received the scholarship by InFiNe before. And in terms of the training, applicants need to select a recognized executive training in inclusive impact sustainable finance with a maximum duration of 6 months. As mentioned earlier, the scholarship covers tuition fees only. So what is not included are the travel expenses, accommodation, and all other related expenses. And finally, of course, logically, the candidates must have a sufficient language proficiency to follow the chosen training. So now, just as important as eligibility is what is expected from the selected grantees, from the selected beneficiaries. So as I said, this program is very much built on a spirit of exchange and engagement. So we are expecting the beneficiaries to share with the rest of the network, of the InFiNe network, both during and after the training. So first of all, during the training, what we would like to receive is some insights and updates from the beneficiaries, for example, through social media posts like LinkedIn posts. But let me say regarding this that we are very, very flexible because we, of course, understand the workload of each person, and we know that attending a training while working can be really a serious tough commitment. So we are not, this is not mandatory. It's something that we encourage, but it's not mandatory. What it is mandatory, what it's really part of the grant is the follow-up of the training. So what we really expect from the beneficiaries is to provide at the end of the training a final report. For example, if here we put it an example of 5-page report, or an article, a series of articles. And we also encourage the beneficiaries to present their learnings to the rest of the membership. For example, with knowledge sharing sessions, workshop, a webinar, so different formats. We are very flexible on this. And yes, this is something we really care, because is let's say, I would say that the ripple effect of the program. We really want this to be shared with the rest of the members. And more broadly, grantees act as ambassadors of InFiNe, representing the network, of course, and the Luxembourg expertise in inclusive finance throughout their trainings. So finally, a few words regarding the application process. So applications are submitted through an online form on Tally. We normally use Tally at InFiNe for all our registrations processes and our surveys. So I am sure you are quite familiar with that. And during your application, you will be asked to upload 3 separate PDF documents. So first of all, your CV of maximum two pages, a cover letter, which, let's say, is the most important, is the real important piece, because it contains your motivation, the details, the description of the training, and also how the funding is structured. And the third document is your employer, a recommendation letter from your employer. So make sure that these 3 documents are included in the application. And most importantly, the deadline this year is Friday, 1st of May. So with that, I will stop here. And I will let our beneficiaries to present, to share with us their experiences. As I said, we have a final, at the end of the session, we have a few minutes for an exchange, for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you will have time to ask or to drop your question in the chat. So I'm very happy today to have with us, first of all, Cécile Pochet from Grameen Credit Agricole Foundation, and Joël Onimus Fortner, hope I pronounced it correctly, from GGGI. So maybe let's start with Cécile. Good morning, Cécile.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes,
Okay,
I can.
Great.
We can hear you very well. Thanks so much for joining us. I let you briefly introduce yourself and then share with us your experience.
Sure. So pleasure to be here. I've been working at Grameen Crédit Agricole for over 3 years now. Started as an investment officer, and I'm now in charge of the portfolio in Asia, so South and Southeast Asia. Basically, I spent a week in March at Harvard Business School to follow the Strategic Leadership in Inclusive Finance program that is designed by Axion and HBS. So it's a program that gathers around 60 to 70 participants from all over the world. So it's mostly, of course, players in inclusive finance. So a lot of investees, fintechs, MFIs, NBFCs, but there's also a few investors, regulators, and some people working in indirectly related fields like carbon credit markets, etc. So it's a very interesting crowd. And basically the program is designed around case studies. So over the week you have 15 case studies that you should really read in advance because the week goes by super fast and it's a lot of reading to do. And so they're discussed, so the case studies are discussed in small groups and then in class with the teacher. So it's faculty staff from Harvard Business School. And all the studies put you in the shoes of the leaders of the organizations at the time of the case. So basically it's organizations that are facing a big challenge, either a regulation change or an increased competition or a paradigm shift. So it's mostly cases on financial inclusion, of course. So you have cases on the challenges that traditional MFIs are facing. You have cases on disrupting models like Nubank in Brazil, PhonePe in India, and financial in China. You have some cases on micro-insurance. Then you have cases on slightly different fields, but that makes sense for financial inclusion players as well, on marketing, digitalization, AI. And then you have some less directly related cases, either on impact first models, but on the importance of reaching financial sustainability while achieving impact. And one case was purely on leadership. It was, I think, the less related to the topic. It was on the Chilean mining rescue. I don't know if you remember, but in 2010, there were like 30 plus miners that were stuck in a mine. And basically the case was like, how did they manage to save them? So a bit further away from topic, but also really interesting the way that the teachers made us think about this case. So the program is really well designed. You live on campus for a week, so you really have a glimpse of the student life again. Everything is made to foster connections with all the participants. You live in apartments with 5 other people, and these people are the people you discuss the cases with before you go to class in the morning. You have different discussion groups in the afternoon for the afternoon cases. to be able to connect with as many people as you can. So overall, it's a very, very enriching experience. I'm again very grateful to the InFiNe network for their support. And I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cécile. I think it was very, very insightful. And stay tuned, because with Cécile we had some discussions already. We would love to use the knowledge she gained to share with the rest of the members, maybe with a workshop, knowledge sharing session. We will see, but stay tuned for that. Now, Joël, over to you.
Thank you, Irene. So my experience was completely different, so that's also very interesting. So as you can see from this slide, I work at GGGI, which is an international organization that helps its member state transition to a green economy. But it is also very active in the climate finance space. And I come from a more developmental background. I used to work for the UN quite a lot, for UNICEF, the World Food Programme. Why I'm saying this is to say I didn't have a finance background, and I think it's quite important in what I'm going to say later. So for me, it was important to understand the basics of sustainable finance, because GGGI has two projects, for example, one funded by Luxembourg, the other by the EU, on green bonds. And for me, it was like, you talked to me about green bonds. I didn't really have an idea what it was. So this is why I chose to do the sustainable finance course with Frankfurt School. It's a 6-month course that started in September. I sat for the exam in March, so it's really a 6-month. It's quite intense. There are 9 modules, but everything is online. You have 2 possibilities. Either most of the people do the online course, and then you have the possibility to go on campus for a weekend at an extra fee to network and have some more knowledge. Unfortunately, this was at the same time as I had a private event. Very unfortunate, because I had intended to go there, but I couldn't. So as I said, there were 9 modules. 3 were about the stakeholders in finance, so insurers, banks, and you see, I already forgot. No, investors. There were three modules on risk, impact, and opportunities in the sustainable finance sector, and 3 modules more on basics, like the regulatory framework, the sustainability framework. It was quite good, but I found that it was more for people who were already working in the finance sector. So not people from me coming from sustainability and trying to learn more about finance, but it was more for finance people, how they could integrate sustainability in their day-to-day life. It was all based on the script. There were also a few webinars. I think there were 4 during the 6-month course. There were some PowerPoint presentation. The scripts were quite long, and thank you, ChatGPT, because I was also very unfortunate when I went back to France for the Christmas holiday. My suitcase with all my notes was stolen. So I put the scripts through ChatGPT, and actually that was quite helpful to have a more global overview. I know it sounds terrible to say this, but I found that the Frankfurt School was, because it was more oriented to people from the finance sector, used a lot of acronyms, which I did not know. So sometimes I got lost a bit in the course. But still, I got the basic knowledge I wanted. Now I know the difference between a green bond, a transition bond, a sustainability-linked bond. And I think that's also quite important in Luxembourg, because we have a great ecosystem, right, for sustainable finance. We have a lot of partners. So now I understand their roles better. So I think in terms of networking, the InFiNe network, that's also quite interesting. I also found, unfortunately, that the courses was not always updated. Like there was the EU Omnibus package that was dealt with in a webinar, but the courses still refer to, yes, in 2024, this will happen. And you kind of, well, we are in 2026 now. It would have been nice to update this. But yeah, so that's my experience from it. I'm still very happy I had this opportunity. So thank you, InFiNe. The registration was very easy. I must say also the communication with InFiNe was very smooth. So that was great. So now I'm waiting for the result of my exam, which was on the 11th of March, and we'll see. But yeah, I'm happy to answer your questions if you have any at the end of this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joelle. So first of all, good luck for the exam. And yeah, thank you for sharing your experience. I think is a very it's a great perspective, because first of all, it's also nice to hear let's say negative feedback or critics that are useful for people who might want to apply. We discussed already among the two of us that indeed in this sector the added value is that people have very different backgrounds. Me too. I don't have a traditional finance background. I had more a social let's say study background, so I would find difficult as well to maybe join this type of training without yeah the right information at the beginning. So thank you so much, because I think a lot of people can relate with this. So moving on, Christophe from Impact.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks again for inviting me and for my presentation. So yeah, I'm Christophe. I work for Impact Impact AIFM. It's purely finance here. We are setting up investment funds that have an impact component. So where we measure these funds not against the performance of these funds, not against the money they're going to create, but more against the impact they're going to have on, climate, poverty around this world, diminution of pollution or things like this. So I'm doing that for the last 3 years, and I'm a compliance officer. That's my background. And yeah, I applied via InFiNe for a course that is very technical, very specific. It's called a carbon forestry course, okay, from the University of Freiburg in Germany. But the class was in English, okay. So just to say here, everything was made online, which was a bit what I missed at the end of the day there is more the interaction with other students. So we had 1 week online, like in a lab, okay, where you're taking video courses. You have resources, things you can read, and then you have some exams, and then every day you are making steps towards having a general overview of this carbon forestry course. What we're trying to do, and then there is a second week where you have online, but classes this time with all the other participants, where you can exchange and where there are group works as well. So that's what I did. If you really want to be an expert, they're also proposing a third week where you will be going on site there at the university, and I was not able to do that. Well, it would have been too long, but there you would be on site in the forest measuring trees, etc. So that's really more technical. That's not really what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do is to understand this carbon forestry, let's say, environment. What we're doing, this type of what it is all about. Let's put it like this. It's very simple. It looks like a very simple concept. The idea is to go planting trees, okay, in the forest, and through that you're gonna do carbon capture. All right. So this is a mitigation measure against climate change, basically, and then you're gonna measure the capture the capture that has been performed, okay, via certain methodologies, and you will receive carbon credits. Okay, so it looks, initially it looks quite cool. You're going to plant trees, but at the end it's rather technical. There are certain methodologies to measure the carbon capture. You have to go on site. You have to take care of many other elements. Where you're going to plant the trees. You're going to have to lease the land, or you're going to have to buy it. You're going to have acceptance of the communities living there. These projects are very long, 25, minimum, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. So a lot of things can happen. There are risks like fire, geopolitical risks, and also at the end of the process where you receive the carbon credits, there's still these markets where you're going to have to sell them to find counterparties. It's over the counter to buy the carbon credits for you. Or you're going to be able to offset them against your own right to pollute if you're a large company in this world. So I wanted really to explore this process because where we are servicing this type of fund. Okay, so yeah, you can plant trees and receive the carbon credits, but what you can do as well, and that's what we do, we find some investors who are interested about this, where we receive their money, and this money will be put into a fund that we manage, let's put it like this, and investing in various projects around this world, okay, to plant trees in various countries, or there are different projects as well. So it's not only planting trees, it could be agroforestry, afforestation, so you restore an existing forest, or you plant new trees, etc. So we're doing that. I'm looking at it from a compliance angle. I can see the risk, but I really did not understand how it works concretely. Now I know. Okay, so that's very good. Yeah. So my experience with InFiNe was very, very, very good. I mean, I always receive super support, very responsive people at InFiNe to help me to prepare the application. Yeah, it can take time, and to receive these letters from HR, the letters from the university, etc. So think about that. And then and then it went pretty smooth. You paid directly for the scholarship, paid directly for the class. It went super smooth, and then that was difficult part is sometimes it was 2 weeks, so I had also tried to work at the same time, so that was a bit hectic, a bit difficult. Think about that. Try to do it at a period when you have less work or less reporting to do, where it's less busy. That would be my recommendation, or if you have the choice. But but that took place back in March, and I received a certificate, and it's here,
Congratulations.
So that was but that was very interesting experience. The knowledge was good, but I missed indeed like the campus part, what I've heard about just earlier from this other participant. Yeah, no, I didn't have that, but okay, but at least the purpose was achieved. I was able to get the right knowledge around these carbon credits, these carbon credit funds, and these carbon markets. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thanks again, InFiNe. For sure.
Thanks to you. It sounds very interesting. Indeed, not easy at all, quite technical topic, but indeed we see this as the carbon credits like a hot topic across our network. So super interesting, and we will for sure follow up with you and share with the rest of the members.
Yeah, because this concept has a sort of controversy, okay? So because you're not, what you should do, in fact, you should not, this carbon credit will probably are helping people somehow to continue to pollute, okay? And this is not what we want to do. We want them to transition from greenhouse gas emissions. And these carbon credits, these trees are planted. You collect the carbon, but it's not permanent because the trees will be cut at a certain point. So it has some controversies. But from what I've heard, when I was there, I was really able to see that on the back of these projects, there are people who are really willing to restore forests. They're not there just for the money, okay? Their intentions are good intentions, and they are saying that, okay, you cannot move from a world where there is no more gas, greenhouse gas emissions, and you cannot do the transition just like this. There need to be some tools, and it is an interesting tool toward the transition to net zero. Okay, so that's the idea.
Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Christophe. So moving to Pedro, I don't know if.
Yes,
Pedro
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Great. Good morning, Pedro.
Good
Over
morning.
to you.
Thank you. And sorry I couldn't be here from the beginning, but thank you very much, InFiNe, for the opportunity and everyone who joined for your interest. I was finding very interesting to hear the other participants' experience. And just to, I don't know if I was introduced at the beginning, but I work for the Microinsurance Network, which is a multi-stakeholder platform hosted in Luxembourg and supported by the government of Luxembourg. So we have members spanning from private and public sector, all involved in the microinsurance or inclusive insurance, as you may, ecosystem. And for this InFiNe scholarship, first I really welcomed the change in the rules of the program that allowed us to pick courses outside of the suggested list. And that was something that I had been I had asked for InFiNe to consider as well. I believe other people might have done it as well. So when that opportunity came around, and I had applied for a scholarship previously for a course that was within the list of recommended courses, and I got the scholarship, but I didn't get into the program, which was very disappointing. So I waited a few more years, and then I applied again, and this time I was able to apply for a course outside of the suggested list, and I kind of set myself up for a challenge of going a bit outside the microfinance kind of microinsurance space, because I've done a lot of training on that. I have substantial experience in it. And I felt what I was lacking was a more crude kind of private sector business oriented strategy course. At that time, the MIN was undergoing a review of its strategy. I was leading that process, and obviously, you know, I've been with the MIN for 5 years, so I had the knowledge about the organization. I could relate to the specificities of the ecosystem, but I felt I could do with a bit more knowledge of the overall kind of tenets of business strategy, so that we could translate that into the specificities of the microfinance ecosystem. So the course I applied to was called Getting Things Done, and it was a strategy execution course provided by IESE, which is a very prestigious business school in Spain. It's a school that a lot of people go to for their MBA. And I knew the school from before, so I was really pleased with the opportunity of attending it. I had to combine the InFiNe scholarship with some personal investment. The MIN also contributed. So I think the scholarship that InFiNe provides is an excellent opportunity to also combine, your own kind of personal goals with what the organizations provide, so that you can leverage it and maybe do something even greater than what you could if you would only rely on the scholarship. In terms of the course, it was a mix of lectures and breakout groups. It was all based on case studies, as most business courses are. So we did see real life examples of strategy challenges and how to apply certain insights from what the lectures were teaching us and what was given to us in class to those real life challenges. So we saw cases that related to companies that we know from different sectors, and the participants in the course it was a very diverse cohort in terms of sectors that were represented. So we had an NBA basketball player that's really famous in Spain. I didn't know him before, but we had this guy. We had a few senior executives from global kind of retail companies, a lot of representatives, surprisingly, a lot of representatives from the Saudi Arabia government in different sectors. So from oil companies to, government planning kind of departments. And then I think, the only one that came from a nonprofit. So in a way, the challenge was even greater to me because I realized, and I feel like, I realized I'm a very activist person, and maybe that aspect of my personality is just toned down because I work in a space where everyone is an activist anyway, so I don't need to be convincing people of things. But what I realized was that a lot of the discourse and narrative that we take for granted in the microfinance or impact finance space, in terms of, I don't think anyone would question that a business does have a social responsibility, an environmental responsibility, and so on. These things, when you go out in the real world and you're talking to business executives that are focused on the bottom line, sometimes they will hesitate before taking those objectives into consideration when facing a business challenge. So there was a lot of psychological pressure for me to be in that space with those people, not trying to convince them of anything, because that wasn't my objective there, but still trying to speak up, and speak my truth, I guess. So that was another aspect that was really interesting. And other than that, there was a visit to a music school. So the course was really dynamic. There were, different teachers throughout the week, different kinds of activities. And then we had a field trip to the Reina Sofia Orchestra in Spain, which is a private, a for-profit orchestra that offers free music schooling for students from all over the world that come to Spain to study music. And then, we discussed with the director of the orchestra about the challenges of running a kind of for-profit that doesn't charge fees from students and so on. So this was where I felt a bit more at home, because there was an element of social responsibility that was really evident there. I'll stop here because I think I've spoken off, but happy to take any questions if you have them.
Thank you so much, Pedro, for sharing your experience and also for your commitment. Because Pedro already published an article for InFiNe, is available on our website, and we will share also through our social media channels and on our newsletter at the end of the month. He wrote a first article titled "As Corporate D&I Faces Backlash, Microfinance Must Hold the Line." I will let you discover it through our website, but I'm sure we will follow up also with a second article very soon. So thank you so much for your commitment. And so we are running a bit late, but still, if you have a few minutes to stay with us, and if you have any question, please raise your hand or drop it in the chat.
Hello, Irene. Yes, this is Sophie speaking from
Hello,
Advance.
Sophie.
Hello, everyone. I do have a question. Yes, actually, it's about the eligibility or non-eligibility of a specific course we could choose to apply. So from the testimonials we've heard this morning, there were actually classes or courses that were I would say connected to sustainable finance rather than inclusive finance directly. And then also, I think that was you, Pedro, you refer to a list of suggested classes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like to understand a little bit more what are the limits, in our choice of courses or schools or whatever, whether there is any flexibility, as I could see with the examples on sustainable finance courses. Yeah, can you elaborate a bit around that?
Thank you so much, Sophie. Sophie is coming from Advance, our new member, just joined us. So yes, regarding eligibility, we are very flexible. Of course, the trainings should be related to inclusive impact, even sustainable finance. Joelle, I mean, she attended a sustainable finance expert training, so this is fine. Of course, we evaluate case by case, but of course should be within the sector. And of course, in other cases, we also evaluate in case of soft skills trainings, I would say, like the one Pedro attended, or even I would say Cecile. We are more flexible, but because we think these are skills that can be applied across all sectors, also ours. So it's very, very welcome. Normally, we use a suggested list of trainings. We can still, I think we still share this on the application, on the call for applications that we launch, but it's not exhaustive. So it's just a list of trainings that are like examples of trainings that you can, that you might be interested in, but it's not exhaustive at all. We are open to receive any kind of proposals, of applications, but of course, yes, we remain in our sector, inclusive impact, sustainable finance. It's difficult to, I mean, these labels are always very, I mean, it's difficult to define clearly, but yes, we are flexible.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I also have a few questions, and maybe to to present myself. My name is Laura Catana. I work for LuxDev. Just to come back to the previous question, I don't see in the application form the link to the document with the list of courses. So if you have a chance to send it, it would be great, because I guess it would save us some time.
Of course.
Thank you. And then I also had two questions regarding the eligibility. So if there are more applications from the same organization, for example, you have 2-3 colleagues from LuxDev applying, is there a limit? And what is the envelope that you allocate for scholarships this year? Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura. So regarding the first question, if more staff members from the same organization can apply, the answer is yes, they can. But of course, we give priority to different members. So yes, more several colleagues from LuxDev can apply, but then of course we will try to diversify our beneficiaries and to allow all members to receive a grant. And regarding the total envelope, so in the individual envelope is up to 4,000 euros. Our total envelope for this year is 8,000 euros. So the number of scholarships that we are able to provide, it really depends on the training proposals that we receive each year. Hope I answered your questions.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Carla?
Yes, thank you for the presentation and the insights. It was very, very useful. I just had a question regarding the intakes. So I would like to know if there is another intake during the year or if it's only the registration only until May. Yes, this is my first question. And then I would like also to know if any of the members took the certificate in sustainable finance from the University of Luxembourg or any other certificate in Luxembourg.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Carla. So regarding your first question, for this year, the only call for applications is this one. So the deadline is 1st of May, and there will not be other call for applications. In the past, indeed, we had 2 calls per year, but we are trying to diversify, let's say, our trainings offer. So this year there is only 1 call, but we will provide other opportunities, other trainings, possibilities for our members. So that's regarding the call for application. And for the second question, I will get back to you, but no. I mean, I'm here since end of 2023, and we didn't have members attending courses in Luxembourg, but I can double check to make sure I give you the right answer, and I will come back to you. And I can even put you in contact with them if can be useful.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I don't know if there are any other questions. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Laura. So already a connection made. So thank you very much. I think with that we are closing the session this morning. I'd like to really thank you for joining us, and a special thanks for the speakers, to Cécile, Joël, Christophe, and Pedro for sharing their experiences. Hope you find the session insightful and useful, and please share this opportunity with your colleagues within your organizations. Thank you very much. I wish you a lovely day.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Irene.
Irene.
Thank you. Have
Thanks
a great day.